So I am Teresa Power, and I've written a whole series of children's yoga books. And the first book in my series is the ABCs of Yoga for Kids, which is an alphabet book of yoga poses for kids. And I wrote this book over 20 years ago when I was teaching preschool to young children. And at the time, there were not any fun yoga books that had children's illustrations in it. So that's why I wrote that. And since then, I have a whole series of working tools for parents and educators, including my first Yoga ABC, which is a board book with different poses and letters of the alphabet for young kids. And I also have a coloring book, which is so fun. So kids can learn the poses and color at the same time. And I also have in that series some learning cards for kids. Now, besides all this, I'm also the founder of International Kids Yoga Day. So this happens the first Friday every April, and this past April was our 5th year. So we have over 300,000 kids all around the world practicing yoga on the same day at the same time. And the result is magic, and it's a free event. You can find out more about it at kidsyogaday.com. And that led me to write another book, which is called The ABCs of Yoga for Kids Around the World, which is an alphabet book of countries that have all participated in Kids Yoga Day. So I began practicing yoga over 35 years ago when I was in law school. And I've also written this book, The ABCs of Law School, to help incoming students learn more about the inner workings of the law. But then I decided that I didn't want to be a lawyer. So all this yoga practice that I had done when I was in law school, I ended up getting trained and certified. And then I taught adults yoga and then kids. So today I'd like to share with you my newest book. I have a lot of books. I'm very active. I love yoga, and I want to share my love of it with all of you. And so I'm going to read today Little Mouse Adventures Yoga at the Zoo. This is my newest project. I'm so happy with it. And Little Mouse is, like I said, the first book in the series is Yoga at the Zoo. We're coming out with a new book in September called Mindfulness at the Park, again with Little Mouse. So without further ado, I'm going to share with you the book, and we're going to read it together and have some fun with Little Mouse. So here we go. Little Mouse Adventures Yoga at the Zoo. Written by Teresa Power, that's me, and illustrated by Emma Allen, an amazing illustrator who lives in London, England. So Little Mouse lives with his family in a cozy burrow, tucked beneath the roots of an old oak tree. Every morning, he goes to school and discovers the answers to his many questions. Can you guys spot Little Mouse here? Here he is, and he is learning, and it says a history about mice. And here he is. Can you guys spot him in this other book too? Here he is with his family, and they live there, and there's his mama mouse. And do you guys go to school and learn the answers to your many questions? Are you guys curious like Little Mouse? Every afternoon, Little Mouse goes over to the house next door where his best friend, Mr. Opus, lives. Mr. Opus is Tammy McDoodle's cat. He lives with Tammy and her mom and dad. Can you imagine that Little Mouse is best friends with a cat? Well, he is, and he loves going over there and playing with them. And there is Mrs. McDoodle. And there's Mr. McDoodle cooking the meal. And here is the tree where Little Mouse lives at the base of with his own family. Sometimes Tammy does yoga with her mom. Mr. Opus likes child's pose best. Can you guys see Mr. Opus? He's so funny. He's just, zenning out in child's pose. And Little Mouse is quieting his mind. And by the way, Tammy and her mother are doing tree pose. That's a great pose that helps with your focus and concentration. One day, Tammy asks her mom if she can go on the class trip to the zoo. What's a zoo, Little Mouse asked Mr. Opus, who is older and wiser. It's a place where animals live, says Mr. Opus. What kinds of animals? All different animals from all around the world. I can't wait to meet them, says Little Mouse. So can you see Little Mouse picturing what all the animals at the zoo look like? He thinks they're all going to be mice, right? Or cats. And here is Tammy with her field trip slip asking her mom about going to the zoo. How many of you have been to the zoo? I love going to the zoo. The next day, Little Mouse and Mr. Opus go to the zoo with Tammy and her classmates. Little Mouse runs to see all the various animals. Can you spot Little Mouse? He's kind of small here, right? Can you find him? Yes, he's right there in front of Mr. Opus. And there's the zoo with all the different cages and all the animals. There's reptiles, there's lions, there's birds, monkeys, giraffes. First, he sees a big, tall, skinny animal. It reaches its long neck up to eat bright green leaves from the very tops of trees. Hi, I'm Little Mouse. The animal carefully lowers his neck until he's at eye level with Little Mouse. Hello, I'm a giraffe. They call me Ned. How do you reach the top of the leaves on top of the trees? See, they're talking to each other. Wow. And this is a giraffe. And can we all stretch our necks like a giraffe? Yeah, giraffes really stretch their necks tall. It's easy, says Ned. I just stretch out my neck like this. Remember, I just showed you, stretch out your neck. Little Mouse stretches his neck too. Thanks, Ned. And then he's going to rush off and see what's going to happen next. Little Mouse scampers a little further until he sees some elegant pink birds. They all stand on one leg. Do you know what kind of bird that is? Do you guys know? Well, we'll find out. He tries to stand on one leg too. See, Little Mouse? Hi, I'm Little Mouse. How do you stand on one leg without falling? Hello, Little Mouse. I am called Reseda, and I'm a flamingo. I don't think about it. I just put one foot down, lift up the other one, and then I keep my balance. Little Mouse lifts up one foot. I'm doing it. Thanks, Reseda. And look at Mr. Opus. He's so funny, isn't he? Oh, wow. Look who's here. Little Mouse scurries along and notices a big gray animal plodding along. Little Mouse runs up to it, but the other animal backs away. Little Mouse remembers learning elephant pose. He swings his arm in front of his nose. That's the elephant pose. See, and look, the elephant is scared of the mouse. And look at the monkeys up there watching, and the birds. Hi, you must be an elephant, says Little Mouse. The elephant leans forward to peer at Little Mouse. Are you a tiny elephant? I've never seen an elephant so small before. Little Mouse laughs. Huh, I'm Little Mouse. Nice to meet you, Little Mouse. I'm Queenie, says the elephant. Nice to meet you too, says Little Mouse, and they shake trunks. And look at Mr. Opus is trying to stay away from the elephant's big paw, right? Little Mouse and Mr. Opus walk through the rest of the zoo. Isn't that beautiful? Can you find Little Mouse? He's very small in this picture. Can you guys find him? And Mr. Opus? They're kind of in the center of the picture in front of the penguins. Little Mouse sees an animal that looks like Mr. Opus. Look, a cat. Wait, Mr. Opus yells, but Little Mouse is running too fast to hear him. Little Mouse runs right up to the sleeping cat. Hi, I'm... Roar! Wow, it's kind of scary. Look at that lion. Quiet mind comes out of Little Mouse's thoughts. Roar! Little Mouse curls into child's pose and breathes slowly in and out to calm down. Everything is quiet. Little Mouse dares to peek at the lion. You know yoga? Little Mouse asks. Of course, says the lion. You scared me when you ran into my house, so I had to quiet my mind. I'm sorry for scaring you. I'm Little Mouse. Hello, I'm Leo. Can you imagine? Look, so Little Mouse and Leo are friends. Look how cute he looks in East pose. And I'm Mr. Opus, Little Mouse. The bus is about to leave. We should go home. Goodbye, Leo, says Little Mouse. That night, While brushing his teeth, Little Mouse practices his new poses. He can't wait to have more adventures. And he most certainly will, because his next adventure is going to be at the park. So we are going to now, okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that story. And those of you that are on Facebook Live, welcome to those of you who have joined us. And I hope you enjoyed the little story about Little Mouse Yoga at the Zoo. So now, before we answer any questions, if you guys have any, I thought we could do some of the yoga poses together. So if your kids are here, or even parents that want to try them, because these poses are parent and kid friendly. I mean, they're good poses for anybody. And so we're going to do some of the poses, like I said, from these flashcards that I have, little the ABCs of Yoga for Kids. So do you guys have a yoga mat or a carpet or somewhere where you can do some of these poses, or a towel? So I'm just going to wait a second to make sure you guys are all ready. And then we are going to do first the mouse pose. Because remember, Little Mouse is a mouse. So we're going to do the mouse pose. Okay, so it starts with the letter M. So I'm going to read you the pose, and I want you guys to join along and do the mouse pose because this is to celebrate Little Mouse. I am a quiet mouse, curled up in my little house. I put my head on the floor and sit back on my heels. Then I fold my upper body some more. Oh, I like how this feels. I put my arms at my side. There are so many places for a mouse like me to hide. So can you guys get into the mouse pose, and let's count to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Nice job. All right. Now, what other animals or things were in that book? Do you remember? Was there a cat? And anyone remember what the cat's name was? Well, if you said Mr. Opus, you're right. So Mr. Opus was Little Mouse's best friend. So let's do the cat pose, okay? So this is very good to balance your spine, which is your back, okay? So a healthy spine means a healthy nervous system. So let's bring both hands on the floor and reach one leg back like a beautiful tail. So my hands and knees on the floor, I become a cat. Stretching one leg to form a tail, I say meow, just like that. You guys can say meow if you want. You can meow like a cat. Sometimes it's okay to make some noises when you're doing the yoga poses and have some fun with it. It's just a yoga practice. It's just fun. Okay, good job. Now, anyone remember what pose was Tammy McDoodle and her mom practicing at their house that Little Mouse was watching and Mr. Cat was in child's pose? Anyone remember? Starts with the letter T and it's outside in nature. Anyone know? That's right. It's the tree pose, okay? So let's do it ourselves, all right? I'm going to read you the poem. T is for the tree pose. I am an old and solid tree. My roots grow deep into the ground beneath me. Bending one leg, I bring my foot to my thigh. Balancing can be tricky, but I'll give it a try. I focus my sight on a single spot. Yoga improves my concentration a lot. Really helps you keep focused and concentrated. So let's try to switch sides, okay? Because you want to do both sides of your body in yoga, all right? Fabulous, fabulous job. All right, now, what was the first animal that Little Mouse and Mr. Opus saw at the zoo? Do you guys remember? Let's see, what was it? The first pose that they saw. Okay, it was a giraffe. Now, I don't have a flashcard for the giraffe. Anyone remember the giraffe's name? The giraffe's name was Ned. That's right, Ned the giraffe. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to, sorry about that, I just kind of messed up here. So what we're going to do is we are going to do the giraffe pose. Anyway, we're going to stretch our necks really high. Okay, so stretch your neck up to the sky. It feels good just to stretch your body like you're aiming for those leaves on the tree in honor of Ned the giraffe. Now, I do have a flashcard for the next animal that Little Mouse met at the zoo. Anyone remember who that was? Starts with the letter E. That's right, it was the elephant. And here's the elephant pose. All right, so we're going to plod along. Now, anyone remember the elephant's name? Queenie. Queenie. So let's all do elephant pose together. A mighty and powerful elephant am I. From standing, I fold forward and then lumber by. Interlacing my hands and gently swinging my trunk, I begin to move slowly, each step making a thunk. Okay, so you guys can be mighty, powerful elephants, just like Queenie. Okay, so who did Little Mouse meet next? Her name was Rosita. Do you remember what kind of animal she was, or what was she? She was a flamingo. So let's do the flamingo pose. It is like the tree pose, but a little different. You're still standing on one leg, but in this one, you're holding on to your knee, all right? So let's read the instructions. Standing tall, I bend one leg and then hold on to my knee. Like a flamingo, I balance, just as stable as can be. With my eyes focused straight ahead, I have tremendous poise. I hold my stance silently, never making a noise. First, I balance on one side, then switch and give the other a try. So let's count to 5 on one side, okay? You guys all in the flamingo pose? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, switch legs, okay? So you're standing on the opposite leg and focus on something that's not moving. When you're focusing straight ahead, if you focus on something that's moving, you will lose your balance. So focus on something that's not moving, and let's count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fabulous. Fabulous job. All right. So the last animal that kind of scared Little Mouse, right? But luckily he did his yoga quiet mind and he got through it. And I wonder if you guys got in situations like that where you're scared and maybe you can quiet yourself doing your breathing and just breathing in and out through your nose and calming your mind and body. So what animal was that and what was his name? Anyone remember? Okay, so let's do it. So let's do, it is the lion pose, okay? So what we're gonna do is you're gonna spring forward and say roar on the count of 3. You guys ready? You can make a little noise here. 1, let's roar like Leo Lion. 2, 3, roar! That's good for your vocal cords, you know, to kind of get things out. And if you're angry, sometimes just roar like a lion and get it all out. So those are all the poses that we learned about in Little Mouse. So now I wanted to thank you guys all for being here on Facebook and being with me live today, because it's such a pleasure for me to be able to share my love of yoga and my books with all of you, especially Little Mouse, which I am especially fond of. And I love Little Mouse, this whole series. I hope you guys do too. And now I would like to open it up for questions. If any of you have any questions you'd like to ask me about Little Mouse book, about yoga, about me, whatever you want to ask me, I would love to answer. This is your opportunity to kind of ask any questions that you might be curious about. So let's see, we've got some questions in here. So one of them is, how do you instill a curiosity or desire in our youth to take up yoga? That is a fabulous question. So the way you do it is to make it fun for them, because young kids, anywhere from 2 years old to, let's say, 6 or 8, they naturally are curious and spontaneous. So the way to do it is, like I said, to make it fun so that they will want to do the poses. So it doesn't have to be so serious for young children. You know, everyone thinks yoga is very serious. You have to be really flexible or this or that, but that's not necessary. I mean, that's true, but you become more flexible and strong as you do the yoga. So for instance, just playfully doing these little cards, like playfully being lions. I mean, that is fun for kids to do, and they're learning yoga and how to calm their minds at the same time. And let's see what else. What are some of the health benefits of yoga for kids? Another great question. So basically, we know that yoga is good for adults, but it's good for kids too. So the same benefits apply to adults as well as kids. One of them is focus and concentration. Just by holding that tree pose and focusing on standing on one leg, that it really helps your focus and concentration. And it also helps, in turn, kids in school, because they learn to calm their bodies and to control themselves. So they're controlling their emotions, so they're more focused to be able to sit still for longer periods of time. It also helps their flexibility, their balance, and it helps de-stress them, because just here's one example. So look, just for instance, this is called the inhale pose. So just taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose starts to immediately just calm your minds and bodies. So that's another benefit. It also helps kids with ADD or learning issues, or kids, like, again, because kids, it helps them focus and concentrate. It helps kids that are on the spectrum that have autism. It also helps them, and especially these fun, colorful illustrations that they love to emulate doing. And let me see what else. Focus, concentration helps them relax, just feeling better about themselves, self-sufficiency, self-reliance. All right. Okay, so what is another question? Let's see. Often has trouble concentrating as his mind wanders to other things. Yes, that's very true. Besides a story about the friendship between Little Mouse and Mr. Opus, a cat, how did your book, Yoga at the Zoo, curiosity about the world around them? Wow, what a great, great question. So basically, Little Mouse can help kids learn to kind of tone down their curiosity, because kids are naturally curious and they want to get involved in everything, just like Little Mouse, and sometimes they can get into trouble, but yoga really helps them to calm and center themselves, so that when they do get into troublesome situations, which they might, but they learn how to deal with it and in a better way. And so that's one of the beauties about this book, is the way that Little Mouse is naturally curious, but learns through the yoga poses and through meeting new people how to interact with people and how to stay calm. What's next in the Little Mouse Adventure series? Okay, so the next book is going to be Mindfulness at the Park, and that comes out in September of 2020. And then after that, we're going to have Little Mouse Yoga at the Museum, which I'm very excited about too, and that is going to be coming out next spring. So Little Mouse is going to have lots of adventures and be able to help teach kids a lot about themselves and the world. So yoga for kids would be excellent during COVID-19 quarantine. That's right. Yoga for kids is an excellent time to be practicing yoga right now, because what's going on with this COVID-19 and then the quarantine is very stressful for kids and families. And so it's something they can all do together. In fact, I have a lot of 5-minute routines, including these. So this is a 5-minute routine that you guys can find at kidsyogaday.com. It's free, and you can download it, and it's a perfect combination of poses that families or kids can practice together during this time. I also am having a free interactive kids yoga workshop and series class every Wednesday. So if you go to my Facebook page, which is Teresa Power, it's ABC Yoga for Kids at Facebook, you guys can find that link for it. And so every Wednesday at 7:30 a.m. Pacific time, and it is 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, I teach around a 40-minute class that's free for kids and their families. So if you'd like to join me on that, you can. And you can also find more about yoga for kids at my other website, which is abcyogaforkids.com. Okay, so what I thought I would do is I'm going to read the book again, because some of you may have joined late, and we actually got a little bit of a late start because we had some technical difficulties in the beginning. So I thought it would be fun to reread the book, Little Mouse Adventures, and that way, those of you that didn't join earlier and you're here now, you can hear this adorable little story about the little mouse. So I'm going to share this with you guys, and let's just read it one more time. All right, here we go. So, so this is the end of the book. So let me go through, and then I will scroll through the book until we get to the beginning. Okay, so let's get started. Welcome to all of you guys that are on Facebook now with us. And I'm going to be reading my newest book. I'm Teresa Power, Little Mouse Adventures, Yoga at the Zoo. And it's written by Teresa Power, that's me, and illustrated by Emma Allen, who is an amazing illustrator who lives in London, England. Sorry, I'm gonna have a little sip of water. All right, so here we go. Little Mouse lives with his family in a cozy burrow tucked beneath the roots of an old oak tree. Every morning, he goes to school and discovers the answers to his many questions. So here's little Mouse's cozy little house. There's Mama Mouse, there's Papa Mouse, and there's little Mouse and his siblings. And they're cute little, and there's all their bedrooms. And here little Mouse is at school. Can you see him? Yes, and he's very curious. So he's a curious little mouse and wants to know everything. Every afternoon, little Mouse goes over to the house next door where his best friend, Mr. Opus, lives. Who do you think his best friend is? If you said a cat, you're right. Mr. Opus is Tammy McDoodle's cat. He lives with Tammy and her mom and dad. So there is Mrs. McDoodle, Mr. McDoodle, he's cooking, and there's Tammy and her cat. And there's little Mouse on the branch coming to visit Mr. Opus, his best friend. Sometimes Tammy does yoga with her mom. Mr. Opus likes child's pose best. Can you see Mr. Opus there? He is snoozing along. And meanwhile, little Mouse is trying to quiet his mind doing this pose. And do you know what pose they're doing? They're doing tree pose to quiet their minds. One day, Tammy asks her mom if she can go on the class trip to the zoo. What's a zoo, little Mouse asked Mr. Opus, who is older and wiser. It's a place where animals live, says Mr. Opus. What kinds of animals? All different animals from all around the world. I can't wait to meet them, says little Mouse. So little Mouse is envisioning, can you see this? He thinks that the museum is full of mice and cats. That's what he's thinking. And there is Tammy asking her mom for permission to go on the class field trip to the zoo. So how many of you have gone on a field trip to the zoo with your school? I did when my kids were little. When they were in first grade, we went to the zoo and had so much fun seeing all those animals. The next day, little Mouse and Mr. Opus go to the zoo with Tammy and her classmates. Little Mouse runs to see all the various animals. Can you see little Mouse here? Look at him. There he is, right in front of Mr. Opus, jumping off the bus because they're just raring to go. And look, we can see some giraffes, some monkeys, there's some birds. There is tigers, it looks like, and reptiles like snakes. First, he sees a big, tall, skinny animal. It reaches its long neck up to eat bright green leaves from the very tops of trees. Hi, I'm Little Mouse. The animal carefully lowers his neck until he's at eye level with Little Mouse. Hello, I'm a giraffe. They call me Ned. How do you reach the tops of the trees? See, Little Mouse is very curious. He wants to know everything. It's easy, says Ned. I just stretch out my neck like this. Little Mouse stretches his neck too. Thanks, Ned. And look, he's running off excitedly behind Mr. Opus to see what he's going to see next. Little Mouse scampers a little farther until he sees some elegant pink birds. They all stand on one leg. See them all standing on one leg? Do you know what kind of birds those are? If you said flamingo, you are correct. Little Mouse tries to stand on one leg too. Hi, I'm Little Mouse. How do you stand on one leg without falling? Hello, Little Mouse. I am called Rosita, and I'm a flamingo. I don't think about it. I just put one foot down, lift up the other one, and then I keep my balance. Little Mouse lifts up one foot. I'm doing it. Thanks, Rosita. See, look, he's doing it. He's balancing. And Mr. Opus just looks like he's a little bored, right? Because he's just not very into doing it. But Little Mouse is really curious and he wants to just emulate standing on one leg, just like those beautiful pink flamingos. How many of you guys have been to the zoo and seen a pink flamingo? They're absolutely beautiful birds. Oh, wow, look who's there. Little Mouse scurries along and notices a big gray animal plodding along. Little Mouse runs up to it, but the other animal backs away. Little Mouse remembers learning elephant pose. He swings his arm in front of his nose. Hi, You must be an elephant, says Little Mouse. The elephant leans forward to peer at Little Mouse. Are you a tiny elephant? I've never seen an elephant so small before. Little Mouse laughs. I'm Little Mouse. See, they're talking to each other. Nice to meet you, Little Mouse. I'm Queenie, says the elephant. Nice to meet you too, says Little Mouse, and they shake trunks. And look at, there's Mr. Opus. He's kind of worried that the elephant may inadvertently stomp on him. And here's Little Mouse shaking trunks with Queenie. Little Mouse and Mr. Opus walk through the rest of the zoo. Look, they see some orangutans. Look at the beautiful peacocks. And here's the penguins. Can you find Little Mouse? He's very small in this picture. Can you find him? Well, can you see the little girl with the balloon? Well, she has a red balloon. Can you find the little girl with the red balloon? She's right there. Well, here is Little Mouse right in front of the penguins. Little Mouse sees an animal that looks like Mr. Opus. Look, a cat. Wait. Mr. Opus yells, but Little Mouse, a sleeping cat. Hi, I'm... Roar! Little Mouse curls into child's pose and breathes slowly in and out to stay calm. Quiet mind, he's thinking. Everything is quiet. Little Mouse dares to peek at the lion. You know yoga, Little Mouse asks. Of course, says the lion. You scared me when you ran into my house, so I had to quiet my mind. I'm sorry for scaring you. I'm Little Mouse. Hello, I'm Leo. Look, now they're friends, and look how friendly the lion looks, Leo the lion looks, in easy pose. And I'm Mr. Opus, Little Mouse. The bus is about to leave. We should go home. Goodbye, Leo, says Little Mouse. That night, while brushing his teeth, Little Mouse practices his new poses. He can't wait to have more adventures. And we can't wait to find out what they are. And his next adventure is going to be Mindfulness at the Park, which is coming out September 2020. So that's coming up soon. So thank you guys all so much for joining me on Facebook and just for listening to Little Mouse, my favorite new series of books that I've written and illustrated by Emma Allen. It's such a pleasure to have you guys all here. And I do have a YouTube channel. So if you guys want to go to Teresa Power I think it's Teresa Power Yoga for Kids, you will find a lot of videos. I have so many different kinds of videos. I have longer routines for you to do. I have 5-minute routines on there. I have just so many different videos for any of your needs. So we really are the children's yoga experts here, and I hope you will visit that, as well as my website, which is abcyogaforkids.com. Thank you so much, everyone, again. And it has been such a pleasure to share my Little Mouse story with you and a little bit about myself. And we will, I'm wishing you guys all an amazing day. And thank you for joining us on Facebook. Okay, bye.